Hello, everyone. I am so glad that you are here to join me in the Introduction to Aromatherapy lesson in the Foundations in Aromatherapy online course. Woo! This is something I've dreamed of creating for you for a long time. I have taught this particular workshop, lesson, presentation, as well as this entire course several times, though often live. And now I get to bring it to you digitally, which whether you are a new student to aromatherapy, and this is perhaps your first course, or if you're one of our aromatherapy practitioner course students that is jumping in here to really kind of get back to basics and go back to the beginning. And listen, there is nothing wrong with that. I love the work that we do in the practitioner course and the depth through to which we get to go with the work. Um, but there really is something about going back to the beginning that I love doing every time. So if this is not your first time around, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And if it is your first time around, welcome, welcome. This workshop will mainly be about what is aromatherapy, what are essential oils, how do they work, how do we use them, how can I explain that can be a fairly complex area of study. How can I explain that to you simply so that you can start using the oils that you have with greater ease, confidence, and most importantly, effectiveness, because I think that we're all here to make our lives better in some way. You might also be here to help make the lives of people in your life better. And this course is definitely designed to not only help yourself, as you know, I am a big proponent of the self healing part of this work because none of the other stuff matters if we're not doing the self-healing part, and it is work that never ends, so there's always more for that to do, and let that be something that is exciting for you and not a burden. um, but also, if you're in this course, you probably want to be able to help your family and maybe help your community and maybe eventually add aromatherapy to your profession, career, vocation, whatever that may be. um, I can go on and on about each of these things, but how do I switch my slide? Oh, there we go. Oh, we've used Zoom so much over the pandemic, and every time I have to figure something out, something new about it. This is not the only time I've recorded a webinar on here either. I'm gonna blame grief and pandemic brain. But let's go back. Let's go back. Let's forget about what's going on right now. If you are new to me and our program, I am a second generation aromatherapist. That's me and my mama in the Atlantic Institute headquarters, aka our house, which is where we are now. And we do live together here, and I get to share this really beautiful office with mom that we call the Inner Sanctum. And our library, our collection of content, is named after that as well. So I grew up with essential oils. They were what we turned to when we had colds, or if I was studying for a test, I certainly had my study blend, which most often was rosemary, eucalyptus, and peppermint. Um, I don't know how I slipped that peppermint in there because I'm not a really big fan of it, but probably just one drop. When we talk about peppermint, you'll always hear me say just one drop. You only need one drop. um, so yeah, I grew up with this stuff. Mom discovered essential oils in the late 70s as something she added to her massage practice and her cosmetology business. She's been, a beautician since she was, I don't know, 17 years old or so. And really nobody she had to really explain to people what essential oils are and were. And so I, by proxy, learned to explain to people what essential oils are and what an aromatherapist is. Because when you're a kid, you ask each other, hey, what does your parents do? My mom's an aromatherapist. What is that? Occasionally I'd meet, a kid in my class or whatever, one of my friends whose mom usually would know what essential oils were, but they really were few and far between, not nearly as mainstream as they are today. And in addition to creating my mom's course and her 2-volume reference manual, the Aromatherapy Practitioner Reference Manual, which catalogs like 350 oils and their properties and yada yada, she also became a spokesperson, an early spokesperson on essential oil safety. And I'll spare you the details of that. You can go look in the Inner Sanctum library and our interviews and get a little bit more of a full story of her life's journey. But the short of it is, I was aware at a young age that people were being injured by essential oils, and it's gone on for so long that our faces look like this sometimes when we read these injury reports. I think it was maybe 2013 we officially started collecting injury reports, which you should be able to find at, I always get them mixed up, aromatherapyunited.com. I'll make sure that those are in the notes for this post. And we have had some website issues that we're working out, but hopefully by the time you see this, it will be back up. Suffice it to say, we have lots of injury reports of people that have been injured by essential oils. So one of the things that keeps me going is getting information out there so that y'all don't have to make us make these faces when we see the things that you do with essential oils. And I don't mean you in particular, although if you are taking them internally every day and or using them on your skin undiluted, like pure, you might want to hang out for the rest of this lesson and the rest of our lessons, especially next week's lesson, which will be on safety, because you could probably be doing things a little bit better. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I do want to share with you the things that we've learned. So we'll cover a lot of that next week. We'll talk about more fun stuff today. Like, for example, what are essential oils? How do they work? And how do we use them? These are the 3 questions that every student of ours, if you take one of our certificate courses, so that means you is in this foundation course, I want you to be able to do an intro class on aromatherapy like I'm doing right now. The first time you do it, you'll probably be terrified. You'll probably get questions you don't know how to answer, and that is all good. This is all part of the learning process. I can do these talks now because I've done them 50 times. I've done them where I've gone way, 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 way too detailed in my knowledge. And I've done them where I felt like I didn't know what I was talking about, even though I have decades of experience in aromatherapy. That's just part of the art and the craft of learning how to teach. And that is one of the great services that we as aromatherapists, educated essential oil users, can offer to the general public, because listen, the general public needs this information. There's just so much misinformation out there and so much overuse of oils. You'll hear me talk a lot in this course about ways where we can actually use them less or use different modalities to achieve the same results. And the more that we gain a consciousness of the ecological impact of the oils, the cost of the oils, I think it's worth looking at reducing our overuse. But part of that comes from knowing how they work, knowing what they are, and knowing how you can use them in safe, effective, and efficient ways. So in the PDF download, the text for this course, I go into some more detail about what essential oils are exactly. And it's one of those things that the further you get down, you'll learn a rule, and then 3 or 4 lessons later, you'll learn all these exceptions to the rule, and that's just how this stuff works. It's a layer by layer understanding. So let's look at this broad category of what is aromatherapy in general. So, our working definition of aromatherapy is that it is the use of aromatic plants, most often in the form of their essential oils, for health, beauty, and well being. So, using something like eucalyptus or pine or rosemary for a respiratory condition, that would be a way of using them for health. For beauty, obviously skincare, and also just smelling great because oh, smell has such a profound impact of on such a profound impact on our everyday experience, and it's so outside of our awareness. When you study aromatherapy, it is like you are studying the secret science that works on everybody, works on everybody, that affects everybody is what I mean. But it is so tied to our unconscious. And as we go through in the healing guides and the Healing with Aromatherapy course, which you all should have access to, when we talk about the olfactory section, which is I think the one we'll do next week. Oh my goodness, the nose and how it connects to the brain is fascinating. Um, and again, it's one of those things where I've gone over this material many, 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 many times, and I am still at awe. You'll see it in videos we did in the past. I'm always like, I'm amazed by this stuff. Because it's stuff that we forget. And when we know how to use scent to our advantage, we can create profound change in our lives. And perhaps that's what I mean by this well being part. So we've got health, we've got beauty, we've got well being. There is I'll talk about that on the next slide, but let me just say this: when things smell good, we feel good. You know that, you have experienced that. Let's think about the last time you walked into someone's home that has like 15 cats and they did not clean the litter box today. Just think about how you feel walking. You might love this person, but you do not want to spend time in that house with the litter box smelling like that, right? Contrast to, you've had a long day. Maybe you're home from a long trip or whatever. You walk in the door and the person with whom you cohabitate has your favorite meal on the stove. It hits you, the aroma hits you in your face as you walk in. What does that smell like? It probably smells like home in some way. You probably will feel comforted and taken care of. And that's, one of the reasons why food, which smell plays a huge, huge role in food and taste in particular. Part of how we have that emotional connection to food and smell. So when things smell good, we feel good. That's like the basic principle of aromatherapy. And so just take a moment here and consider, how are you using aromatherapy in your life right now? What are the ways in which aromatherapy is playing? It could be, overt ways, like you turn on your diffuser when you go into the office in the morning, or I'm sorry to bring up the litter box thing again, but we got cats, and I don't know what the cat's been eating, but man, I got to do all kinds of damage control in the litter box room after it uses it. And it certainly, like, if I don't take care of the smell from the litter box, it's going to affect the way that I feel. And so that's a use of aromatherapy in my life. But let's talk a little bit about what are essential oils in particular. So if you can think of any time you've scratched the outside of a citrus, or you squeeze, I don't want to say squeeze the lemon because then we got the juice component in there, but just on the outside of the peel, I call it the original scratch and sniff. If you scratch the outside of a citrus peel, you'll release some of these highly concentrated, volatile, oil-like generated from specialized plant cells molecules. Let me break that down a little bit. So, and you might also think about rubbing your fingers on some rosemary, and you might even feel that stickiness from there. what's happening is that these plants, all kinds of different plants, not every plant is aromatic. Not every aromatic plant we can get essential oils from, also, by the way. But with our, culinary herbs, for example, the specialized cells in the plant structures create these molecules. Now, this is where it gets a little bit sticky. They create these molecules, and in the natural world, they would be released by things like a grazing herbivore eating the plants, um, an animal brushing the plant and it distributing its particles. The plant may also release them, maybe into the soil, into the air. They might be used for communication, all of these different things. And we'll get into that a little bit more in the botany section. But for right now, just know that the form that we have them in these little bottles are very, 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 very highly concentrated. That means that it takes pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds of plant matter to generate sometimes even just a couple milliliters of that essential oil. The other thing to keep in mind is that, if we're going to be technical, essential oils do not exist within the plants. Essential oils, as we know them, do not exist within the plants. What and how is that possible? It's possible because to obtain essential oils in the amounts that we use them therapeutically, we have to put the plant through a very unnatural process called distillation, at least for most essential oils. And for citrus oils, it's more of a mechanical pressing, cold press method is what it's called, or expeller pressed. And that's a slightly different process. So we'll just put that to the side right now. But most essential oils are created through steam distillation. And I'll show you a little bit about what that process looks like in just a minute here. But what that means is that what we're getting has gone through a chemical process and therefore can end up being changed. Now, we could go back and forth on what essential oils have components in them that are called artifacts, which means they don't exist in the plant at all. They are created through the steam distillation process. But just suffice it to say, we need humans and plants interacting to get essential oils. And that, I think, is something that maybe kind of sets aromatherapy in its own little compartment within the larger realm of herbalism or plant medicine. And I do suppose one could argue that most herbal preparations have gone through some sort of process, but it's different than the distillation process. So I stress this because I don't think people realize, I think more often than not, people see something in a bottle and they think that it's okay to just put it straight on their skin or use it neat. But I would draw the comparison between, let's say you love, like orange juice is your jam. You freaking love orange juice. You would drink it all day long. You would get it intravenously. I don't know who these people are. I'm making it up, but let's just say you are an orange juice enthusiast. Would you want to not dilute your orange juice and just drink the orange juice concentrate? Probably not. It would be too strong. Your stomach acids would be like, what is going on here? And it's a silly comparison, but it is very similar to what essential oils are. They are like the orange juice concentrate. They're the concentrated substances that are found in these aromatic plants. Now, there's another word I want to break down here for you, and that is volatile. Does that mean they're going to explode? Actually, kind of maybe, but we'll put that aside. They are flammable. But volatile means they are easily evaporating. They evaporate very easily. And that is because the molecules, there's a little bit of that chemistry, the molecules that comprise these essential oils are extremely light. They just want to float up into the air. And indeed, anything that you can smell, you are smelling because of the volatile components. Okay. It's not just aromatics that smell. Anything volatile, you'll be able to smell, at least as long as you have the scent receptors to sense it, of course. And our sense receptors, I don't remember the exact number. I think it's about like 10,000 different types of smells we can smell. Our nose and our scent receptors, our olfactory nerves are amazing. And that's another reason why aromatherapy is so fascinating, because as you learn to train your nose, you'll start to, I mean, you can train your nose to be able to smell nuances between different scents. And that is so wonderful in blending. It's wonderful in really getting a intuitive information on how, quote unquote, good an essential oil is. I've smelled enough synthetics to really be able to smell those synthetics, and that really comes in handy if I'm, if I don't know about this brand and I'm trying these different oils or whatever. So where did the name essential oils come from? We'll talk about this in more detail in the third lesson on history. Oh, one of my favorite lessons. I just love going over the history. It really makes me have so much gratitude for the people that have come before us and figured all of this stuff out. But this is one of my pet peeves. I really, 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 really wish we did not call them essential oils. I think, I don't know, I don't have any suggestions for an alternative, but I do feel like, I mean, essential, whatever, but the oil part, I think gets very confusing for people because essential oils can easily be equated to, what we would call fatty oils or carrier oils, which are chemically completely different. They typically don't have many, if any, volatiles. They might have a little bit of a smell, but not like our essential oils are. They typically are safe to put on the skin because they don't have the same kind of components that our essential oils do. And we use essential oils with our carrier oils beautifully. It's the best way to use them for our skin. But essential oils aren't really oils. The name comes from when you had all these alchemists distilling everything, trying to find the elixir of life. And what they found, I think that should be my next slide. Yes, what they found, this is mom with this is our stainless steel still, doing a distillation just for demonstration purposes. So they were distilling all of this different plant matter, trying to find, what will make what. And what they found was that when they would take their plant matter and put some water on it, there's a couple different ways to do distillation, but general, you got water, you got plant matter, you heat up the water. Either you're going to shoot the steam through the plant matter, or you're going to heat it all up together, or do some combination of those, but the principle is the same. You heat everything up, the cells that contain these volatile components open, and what do the volatile components do? They evaporate up. That's the sound that they make. I'm just kidding. And they come to this thing called a condenser, and I don't think I can do a pointer on here. I'll probably figure that out like 3 or 4 presentations in, but you see this thing at the top with the hoses coming to it. And let me show you this next slide. Also, just by the way, mom's pointing to her Use Me shirt. This is one of her favorite musicians, David Bromberg. But also, she wants us to use her. She's done so much work in the aromatherapy world, and she's, really just trying to retire. And I'm continuing things on, but I want us to use her too and use all of this work that she's put together for us because it's freaking awesome. So what happens is, this on the left hand side here, you have this thing in the center with the little drop coming off of it. That's called, in this apparatus, it's called a cold finger. So you've got cold water running through this cold finger, and what happens is, as the steam rises up, it condenses into a liquid. It's just science. And then it drops down into our area over here, the slide at the upper right hand portion. And then you can see the 5 and you can see the ml, and you can see this line of oil at the top. So underneath is all the water. And what's that? That is called, is the hydrosol or the hydrolat. Hydrosols are really wonderful allies within our aromatic world. They're aromatic waters, they're also called. Anne Harmon's work and book is really wonderful. Amy Crichton also has a book called Aromatic Waters where she profiles a bunch of different hydrosols and gives you recipes and stuff. Those are wonderful products to work with as well. And I won't go into too much of them for right here, right now, but I want you to know that they exist and that the oil will separate from the water because oil and water doesn't mix as part of this chemistry portion of it. So essential oils are you come from this, siphoning off or separating the water from the oil, and the oil is what you get. So out of all of that, I mean, we probably had a couple gallons of, you don't do gallons of plants, but we had a big bucket of lavender. I don't remember what the poundage was, but we're getting like maybe a milliliter or two of oil from all of that plants. So I share that to say, if you are someone that has used them undiluted on your skin, just think about how much rosemary or lavender or whatever aromatic herb you want to think of, how much rosemary would you have to roll in to get the same amount on your skin as you do if you take a couple of drops straight out? I mean, just think about that. Our bodies have not evolved to be able to handle that much of these concentrated substances. And that is why, through overuse, we can get injuries. Okay, I'm going to talk a lot more about safety next week, so I won't get on the safety soapbox, but I just wanted you to see kind of how that distillation process goes. So I want to profile one of my favorite essential oils, rose geranium. I love me some rose geranium. And just let you know a little bit about how you would get to know an essential oil. In this course, we're going to be doing an oil of the week. So every week you'll have an assigned, each of our lesson weeks, you'll have an assigned oil of the week, and you can find the directions for how to work with that, how I suggest that you work with that. But it's really just about taking time to get to know that oil. This is not our oil for the week, but I wanted to kind of just profile a couple oils so you can kind of get a sense of the different things you would look at in an essential oil and maybe just kind of wet your palate, so to speak. So rose geranium, we've got the italicized name here, Pelargonium graveolens. That is the Latin binomial, the scientific name for the plant. It's very, very important to know your scientific names, even though botanists will change them over time, as we'll see in another slide here. And I can't think of it. This is the name I know for geranium, but I do think that there is an alternate name out there, and someone's shouting at me in the video right now to tell me what it is. I know it. But anyways, that's important because you can have two plants that have the same common name, but very different Latin names and also very different chemistry. So it's just a way of making sure you're talking about the thing that you are actually talking about. This is an essential oil that is created through steam distillation of the leaves. I note here that an absolute is also available. Absolutes are created through a solvent type of extraction. So it's a different type of extraction than steam distillation. You don't have to worry too much about it right now, and you'll see them some, but they're not as common as steam distilled oils. Some of the properties, some of the physical properties that this oil has, that it's astringent, antiseptic, antibacterial, fungistatic, tissue healing. I love it, love it, love it for skin. I use it in my salt scrub. I'll often put them in my face oils, helpful for all skin types. Appears to balance hormones. This is like gets a super asterisk next to it. I don't want you to be like, oh, geranium, that's what's going to make my periods all better. I mean, it might, but it's, as I stress in so many of our other healing guides and other trainings, um, there are a lot of other factors going on when we're talking about balancing hormones. Let me just put it succinctly there. So this is not a fix me type of situation, right? We're not looking for oils to replace our pharmaceutical drugs. We're looking to use essential oils to um, create a foundation and help us to create a healthy lifestyle. So it's much more beyond than just the essential oils themselves. To rely on our essential oils to do something like balance our hormones without, also maybe getting exercise, enough sleep, staying hydrated, looking into foods that might do the same thing. We're asking too much of our oils if we're not helping ourselves in those other ways. But there definitely is some association with geranium being an oil to help in a variety of female reproductive issues. Let me just make a blanket statement with that. And interestingly, also, it works as a balancer mentally. We call it an adaptogen regulator, which means it's not like a super stimulant. It's not a super sedative. You can blend it with either. It'll kind of adapt for what you need. It's about finding balance rather than tipping the scales one way or the other. It's about balancing the scales. So, it would kind of make sense that it might also help our hormones balance as well. But I really feel like the hormonal balancing part is going to come from your body being in balance, not because geranium made it so. So hopefully that makes some sense. And just let that sink in and return back to that when you study geranium in your oil of the week. It's generally safe. There's not a lot of safety cautions with this oil, which is one of the reasons why I love it. But it also just smells delicious. And it's one that we have growing here. Oh, it grows here so easily. So, how do essential oils work? There are a couple modes of action on the body. They can work pharmacologically, which means they're going to produce chemical changes in the body. They might also work physiologically. So, helping our scar tissue heal, for example, would be a physiological reaction, or breathing in an expectorant and it helping us to expectorate, clear out our lungs. But they also might work on the mind as well, changing or shifting mental states through the general effects of the scent or the learned odor response. Now, this is very important when we're talking about the mental effects of essential oils, because there are general effects. Like I said, rosemary generally is very stimulating. Lavender generally is very sedating. But you know what? just like just like sometimes drugs will have the opposite effect. You take a drug for focusing and it makes you go to sleep or whatever. Oils can be like that too. I've had some people be like, oh, rosemary knocks me out, or lavender keeps me up. And I don't know if either of those would be working on this other part, the learned odor responses, but it's just a point of note that though an oil has a known general effect, that will differ from person to person. And one of those reasons is learned odor responses are very strong. And it's part of, evolutionarily, if you ate this mushroom and it made you throw up, well, you're going to have a mechanism within your body so that the next time you taste that in your mouth, you're going to, it's going to make you sick. So you don't eat any more of it, for example. My mom is a my mom tells this story about having peppermint schnapps, being a teenager and getting some alcohol and drinking way too much peppermint schnapps and throwing it up, and guess what she doesn't like? Peppermint. I don't know how she eats mint chocolate chip ice cream. It must be a different a different sense in there. But peppermint candies, peppermint patty, candy cane. Like, no, she don't want any of that because of this learned odor response with this peppermint schnapps. So it happens all the time. You probably have things that you have learned odor responses to. Now, we can also use that to our advantage. And in the psychoaromatherapy mental effects chapter, we'll talk a lot more about this idea of pairing a scent with a state of mind. And that is one of the ways I love to use scents. um I left it upstairs, but I've been doing that a lot with lavandin. Lavandin is an oil that's like lavender, but it's got some camphor in it, and so it's calming, but also a little bit invigorating. And it has kind of become my anxiety oil, actually. It's like when I feel that anxiety, well, I've sat with it, I've meditated with it, I've done affirmations with it. So now when I start to feel that anxiety coming on, or even if I'm in a situation where I know I'll typically feel anxiety, I'll bring that lavandin in, and it brings me back to doing my affirmations and doing my meditation. So it helps shift me out of what is typically an anxious state into a more pleasant state. And this is one of the best ways, absolute best ways, that we can use our oils for ourselves, for our clients as well. Another one of my favorite oils is Bergamo, Citrus bergamia. So this is a citrus oil. I worked with it for years, and this is part of why you'll find in our education, I try my best to tie it back to the plants as much as possible, because as an aromatherapist since I was a kid, I've just spent so many years being way more comfortable with oils in bottles. Often oils in bottles from plants I've never met, from places I've never been to, but then have no idea what to do with the rosemary in my yard. And that I've moved beyond that at this point. This is something I noticed a few years ago and was like, whoa, 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 let's weigh it up a second. I want to know about the actual plant. So bergamot was one of those where I was like, wait, what? It's a citrus? I mean, I could have figured that out from the Latin name, Citrus bergamia, but I hadn't really like looked at the plant before. And so there are these little citruses. From what I read, they're pretty bitter, so they're not used. They're not ones that we eat, but man, do they have a beautiful aroma in that peel. So this is one that you're going to get from the cold expression of the fruit, the mechanical pressing of the peel or the fruit itself. It's got qualities of being antiseptic, anti-inflammatory, helpful for skin diseases. Another one that's good to use in a skin blend. Mentally, it's very uplifting, antidepressant. It's another regulator balancer, so it would blend with rose geranium very well. Helpful for anxious conditions. Oh, it was one of the last oils that we covered in the inner sanctum right before we had to pause last summer. And it just felt like so perfect for the beginning of the pandemic, I gotta tell you. It's from Italy, so that was interesting because Italy was the hot spot in the beginning. And yeah, this whole idea of helping in anxious conditions, I do find it to be so helpful for that. But safety wise, you want to look at, it can be slightly irritant, but also more importantly, look for know if your bergamot is phototoxic or not. So how do you, okay, number one, what is phototoxicity? Phototoxicity is a property of an oil that when it is used on the skin topically and then you go out into the sunlight or a tanning bed, you get exposed to UV rays, it enhances it. It basically makes it a lot easier for these UV rays to burn and damage your skin, and can be painful and sometimes leave lasting damage, and can totally be prevented by, number one, not using. If you're going to go on to, don't be doing it on your pulse points and then going to the beach type of thing, or tanning bed. But also look for varieties that are either bergaptin free or are labeled as FCF, which means it's ferrocoumarin free. Fancy language for meaning it's had the phototoxic components removed, so they are no longer present within the oil. And that's one of the things where there's this big emphasis on getting oils that are pure and unadulterated. And not that this is technically an adulteration, but this is a place where I want someone to fool with my oils. I don't want it pure because I want the phototoxic stuff removed because I want to be able to use it safely. I know some aromatherapists will make a comparison between the aromas and it will create a slightly different aroma. So depending on what you're using it for, maybe you want the aroma of the phototoxic parts. But for me, FCF is fine, beautiful, love it, give it to me, let me use it safely. Oh, lavender, Lavendula angustifolia, also known as Lavenduja Officinalis. It's essential oil that's from the steam distillation of the flowering plant. It's one where you can have an absolute, a solvent extracted absolute also available. And I haven't mentioned CO2s yet, but those are other carbon dioxide extraction aromatics. Those are becoming more and more popular. I haven't used them a whole lot in my practice, nor have I done any formal training in CO2s. We do have information about some of the CO2s in the Aromatherapy Practitioner Reference Manual, but for the most part, I'm still really getting to know them as well. And I got this little Google Drive thing up here. I hope y'all can't see it. Oh, and I can't get, where is my, oh no. Oh, where did it go? Something I should try and edit out later. Anyways, okay. So antiseptic, these are some of the qualities of lavender. Analgesic, anti-inflammatory, antispasmodic. So it's a really good one for massage, really good one for pain relief, really good one for respiratory conditions as well. I don't have that on there, but it's one that I will use for in a respiratory blend. It's a sedative, antidepressant. I always hesitate to put that on there because that needs some more qualifying around it, and we'll cover that in the mental effects chapter. Calms emotional extremes and helps one connect to the spiritual realm. That there's no scientific proof about this part, but in this idea of like symbolism, this whole purple color, lavender is this purple color. And if you know about the chakra system, purple is something that is very much connected to is a color that's connected to the spiritual realm. So I feel like there's some connection to be made there. Now, this oil is pretty generally safe. However, I have a sensitization note. I'm going to cover sensitization a lot more in the next lesson, but suffice it to say, sensitization is a learned response, a learned reaction that your body can have through an accumulation of basically too much oil. The more we overuse an oil or any chemical substance, by the way, the greater a chance that we will have some sort of sensitization response. Now, this is different than sensitivity. It's different than sensitivity. That's a separate thing here, but I note it here because lavender is one of our safest oils, but just because it's a safe oil doesn't mean that we can't, through extreme overuse, start to have a sensitization type reaction to it. And I know this because I know people that are sensitized to lavender. So there's no reason that we need to get to that place. And part of that comes with using through proper dilution and not overusing our oils, switching them out, changing different things. Again, I'll cover that more next week. Oh, I just wanted to mention rosemary, one of my other favorites. Here's one that, we knew it as a Rosmarinus officinalis for so long. And now they want to call it a salvia. Salvia rosmarinus is the new Latin name. So it has been recategorized as a sage. That's what salvia is. And just one of the really wonderful parts of botany and knowing about botany and what does one of my teachers say? You know, botanists are either splitters or lumpers. You know, they either want to lump all these things together that are really similar, or they want to split them apart and be like, no, this is different than this. But at least we have more fun names to say because they, you know, sound like magic and stuff. This is one that is an essential oil from the steam distillation of the flowering plant, antimicrobial, stimulates digestion, and you'll find that with a lot of our culinary herbs. No wonder, because we use, you know, why have these herbs been used culturally in food, if not for they taste great and they make your tummy feel good? It's also helpful in respiratory conditions, mucolytic, so it's going to help thin the mucus, also help with pain and smooth muscle relaxant. It's one, typically I do not like to blend stimulants with sedatives, but I will admit that I have created a massage blend that had both rosemary and lavender and other things in them for sore muscles, and that did work very well. This one is a mental stimulant. It's one that I love to use to wake up. If I don't care where I am, any city, if I'm walking out the door, we got big rosemary plants out there. If I see a rosemary, I'm going to rub my hand along one of those stems and leaves and just, yeah, I like think of it as like shaking hands with the plant. And one of the things I would love for you all to do is find yourself an aromatic plant and shake hands with it. Now, not all aromatic plants have the aromatics on their leaves. Something like vetiver, I'm not going to smell that, even though I can feel the leaves. The scent is in the roots. Or, you know, frankincense. If you're in a place where there's frankincense, that'd be amazing. But if you can find an aromatic herb where you can squeeze the leaves and feel it, or, you know, just go get a lime or a orange or any kind of citrus fruit and experience the aromatics within the context of the plant. Another thing you could do, let's say it's winter and there's no plants anywhere, but you got some peppermint tea. Make yourself a cup of peppermint tea and take time to inhale the volatiles that will be coming out of your hot tea. I just really love to connect the aromatics to the plants themselves, because it's a bridge we're still building as aromatherapists, and I want to see us walk over. I want to see us be able to walk over the bridge back and forth, if you know what I mean. So safety wise, rosemary is one that we really kind of want to keep away from children. And by that, I mean, don't make a chest rub for your 2-year-old with rosemary and put it on them. Diffusion in general will probably be okay. I mean, if in doubt, like totally just don't do it. But for small children, when it's applied to them and used in larger concentrations, which we really got to dilute stuff down. And for small children, I really don't even recommend using essential oils with them for a variety of reasons. We'll talk about that with safety, but it has a component in it. The 1,8 cineol molecule can cause throats to close up in small children. It is used as a caution with people with epilepsy. But I'll also say that in our experience, we have used rosemary to help people that, I'm like, how do I want to phrase this? Let me just say it can also be used to help people with epilepsy, but please don't try that until you learn some more. So I just highlight that as this is a gray area, as most things in aromatherapy are. And that will help you sort that through as we go further. So let's just talk in general about what to do with essential oils. We're going to cover that a lot more in the application chapter, but I want you to have some things to do with them right now. Oh my gosh, I left the spray part in here. Do not pay attention to the spray part. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So one way we could use them is environmental inhalation, which can simply mean, here we probably used to spray in our hands, and Oh, we got Sissy in the picture too. This is we used to do live classes at the house. Sissy would always come. And I know essential oils aren't supposed to be used with cats and everything, but man, she loves her some freaking lemongrass. Like she will chew the plant. But the best way to smell them, I mean, the best way to use them is to smell them. It's the cheapest. It's the most efficient. It's the quickest to get some sort of mental response to them is inhaling them. So the reason why I'm like, oh God, I left this spray part in here is oils and water is a whole thing to unpack. Okay, if it's just for you, and you want to use it right now, go ahead and put some essential drops of essential oil in some water. But please, please know two things. Number one, your oils and your water are not going to mix unless you use some sort of polysorbate 20 or whatever, some kind of emulsifier. I think that's the right word. You need to use something, or dispersant. You need to use something to get the oil in the water. And I'll make sure that y'all get a link to something that explains that in a little bit more detail. And we'll go over this in the application section. But also, anything with water over time is going to grow bacteria if it doesn't have a preservative in there. And so if it's just for you, whatever, you know, and you just need to use it quickly and you need to shake it really good before you use it, please do not make a spray in a plastic bottle. Oils will eat through plastic. You'll get plastic in your product, and it also might fall apart eventually if it sits there too long. My mom totally has had that happen. And please, please promise me you will not put oils in water and sell them to people without training and formulation. Okay, that's it right there. It's really easy to put some oils in some water, especially when you see recipes all over the place for them, but it is not ethical to be selling these on the market because they need preservatives or else they grow bacteria. And that's all I'll say about that. But you might also use essential oils in a diffuser. In the Getting Started with Aromatherapy guide, that is a part of the Healing with Aromatherapy course, you've got some further ideas of easy ways to use essential oils in the air, putting a couple drops on your AC filter, for example, or a couple drops on a tissue or a paper towel and putting it in your car as a car air freshener. My favorite way to use oil when I spill it, especially if it's something nice like patchouli. Oh, I hate that I did that one time, but I just wiped it up with a paper towel and put it in my car, and man, it smelled delightful. So there are ways to, even if you make a mistake, there's totally ways to fix it. Of course, diffusers, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm using diffusers less and less. They're a pain to clean. They are a pain to clean. And again, there's water in there, so you got to clean it or else it's going to be growing some bacteria. Diffusers you can get anywhere. And it's the type of thing where if you're spending 20 bucks on it, it's probably only going to last so long, but we'll probably get the job done. It might be worth investing in something a little bit fancier. We've got these ultrasonic, and ultrasonic, don't get something that's going to heat oils and oil burners and things like that. Oils are flammable. Burning the oil, I mean, it might release the scent, but it's also going to be changing the chemical component. So if you're trying to use oils therapeutically, heating them is not really the way to go. You want to get something that uses ultrasound, ultrasonic vibrations to create a mist to put into the air. And these run probably anywhere between 60 and 100 bucks, depending on what you're looking for. But we can also use them topically, which means on our skin, chest rubs, face serums, body oils, lotions. Lotion is another thing that is hard to make yourself because it's oil and water or water and oil or whatever. But you can get pre-made lotions and just add oil to those. And safe dilution, again, look for more information on this in the Getting Started with Aromatherapy guide, and we'll talk about it in more detail in the applications section. But in general, safe dilution for a full body application. So let's say if it's your daily body oil, or if you're a massage therapist, this is what I would use for my massage, in about 30 milliliters, which is about 1 ounce of carrier oil. If you put about 15 drops of your essential oil, of course, looking at the safety of those oils, like I'm probably not going to put cinnamon bark in my massage oil. It's a little irritant. But rosemary, lavender, geranium, bergamot, those are all safe to use, with the exception of the phototoxicity with bergamot. So you always want to dilute your essential oils in a carrier oil. Our favorite, always and forever, is fractionated coconut oil. It's coconut oil that doesn't go solid. So you could certainly use coconut oil from your kitchen. That's the full fat coconut oil that does get solid. You'll just want to, melt it down. Don't make it too hot. Don't make it too hot when you put your oils in, but just melt it enough so that it's liquid. And you can use jojoba, you can use almond, you can use avocado, you can get super fancy and make something with additives, like a skin serum. We've got a bunch of information about that in the reference manual. I'll talk a little, I'll touch on it in the application section, but we go a lot more in depth on additives in the practitioner course or in the aromatic spa book if you want to just kind of get down to the information in there. Note that the treatment, the aromatherapeutic treatment, when we use oils topically, is twofold. It is through the dermal absorption. So particularly if we're using something either like a chest rub or more appropriately a sore muscle rub, certainly there's going to be, and there's all kinds of debates that we can get into on this, but there's probably components of the essential oil that are being absorbed into the local tissue, affecting those muscles. Of course, you're also going to be getting effect through the actual physical touch of the application, the massaging of itself. But you are also going to be getting an effect through inhalation, through breathing it in. And I would say that that's actually the more major of the effect. It's the immediate effect. You're already having a cascade of responses in your brain and therefore in your body. So it's not just one thing with aromatherapy. It's a lot of different factors going on, and I highlight all of this because I want you to know that you're using all of these tools. Like when you're putting something on topically, it's not just working because you're touching your skin. It's not working just because you're paying attention to that. All of these things are factors, but it's also working because you're smelling the thing. And in the Getting Started guide and the Healing with Aromatherapy course, I also talk about creating morning rituals and evening rituals. And that's a place too when we're pairing it with a scent, when it's something that we're doing for ourselves and it's something that we do repeatedly. There's this whole process of, for example, let's say you've got a nightly hand cream, something simple like a nightly lavender hand cream, and before you go to bed at night you put on your hand cream. Well, what will start to happen is you're going to start to associate that scent with, oh, this is bedtime. It's going to start preparing you for bedtime, and will become this ritual that you do for yourself that helps you in ways probably far beyond than what you can imagine. So one of the questions that we get very often is, where can I find good essential oils? What do I look for in my essential oils? And one of my favorite quotes from Colleen Dodd is, buyer beware, buyer be educated. Use what you buy and buy what you use. That's the other thing she would say. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Yes. So the thing with aromatherapy and essential oils, as you can see behind me, is very, very easy. Most aromatherapists are collectors. We love finding new oils. We love comparing a rosemary CO2 to the steam distilled CO2 to the rosemary verbanon to the rosemary camphor and all of these. And then you buy all these oils and then you're like, what do I do with them? and am I getting good ones? So the first question is, what do you look for in your essential oils? In the library, in the Inner Sanctum library, in the Aromatherapy 101 section, you can find a much more detailed guideline for buying essential oils and what to look for. But here is in general, what you want to look for in your essential oils is make sure on the label they identify the botanical Latin name, the Latin binomial. Without that Latin binomial, you don't know what you're actually getting. We also want to find out what plant part is being used. There are certain oils that this is very important. Cinnamon bark is different and has different safety precautions than cinnamon leaf. They're going to smell really similar. They're going to have the same Latin name. They might have the same, they'll probably have the same method of extraction, and they might even have the same country of origin. But with that plant part being different, you know the chemistry is very different, and therefore the safety and the appropriate applications are very different as well. Method of extraction, also important for something like lime. Lime, cold pressed, expeller pressed, is phototoxic, has these phototoxic components. We want to use it with caution on our skin when we go out into the sun. Steam distilled lime doesn't have phototoxicity. So that is something that just knowing that method of extraction is going to give you information on the safe and appropriate use of that oil. Country of origin, I can't think of an example where safety is going to be an issue with different countries of origin, but certainly aroma. Oh, there probably is one. I bet you somebody will point out one where there would be different chemistry, but certainly the chemistry will be different with the different country of origin. As we'll discover in the botany section, the essential oil, the actual like levels of different components in any essential oil is going to be dependent on factors like the biological terrain of what's going on. The biological terrain, that's our bodies, but the terrain of what is going on. I think the term is terroir, if I'm remembering correctly. But basically, like, what's in the soil? How much rainfall was there? Was it a sunny day? Was it a cold day? Or season, I guess, rather. How much water did it get? Was it, overwatered? Was it underwatered? All of these things, was it did it get infected by different pests? Those are going to affect what the essential oils, what the end product of those essential oils are, and the country of origin. Okay, here's an example. I got some ginger from China, and man, it does not smell good. And I don't think it's anything. I don't know what the deal is. And actually, my supplier was like, I don't know what's up with the Chinese ginger. And where did I get the other ginger from? I'm forgetting. I'm Sri Lanka, I think I got some more ginger from Sri Lanka. I got it from somewhere else, and man, it smelled way better. Much more what I thought ginger would be smelling like. So now I know if I see a bottle of ginger from China, I probably don't necessarily want it. I mean, I'll give it another try. I like ginger enough, but that was one thing where I was like, yep, nope, not getting ginger from China anymore. Look at the packaging, other oils in their line. Look at the company as a whole. Like I said, in the guidelines for buying in the 101 section in the library, we'll go into much, much further detail. And you can certainly ask us questions there if you want further details on that. And lastly, experience the oil. If you don't like how it smells, then don't get it. This is I mean, occasionally there might be oils that you don't particularly like that are good to use. I'm trying to think of one for me that I don't really. I mean, peppermint. I'm just not that crazy about peppermint, but I'll use it when I need to. But I really like spearmint. That's the one that I really like. So these are things to look for in your essential oils. Okay. Homework. Okay, I like to call it home play. You'll notice that on the assignments. This is more home play. I mean, I want y'all to have fun. So here is your home play exercises for lesson 1. Number 1, review the full lesson in the Healing with Aromatherapy course. This goes into even further detail of how to use essential oils in your daily life for your own self-healing. And you've got a couple exercises in there to do. You've also got the oil of the week exercises, which you should see under this video in this lesson, and all about lavender. So you'll use the deep dive, the lavender deep dive in the inner sanctum to guide you through studying lavender, and also just kind of use it throughout the week. Maybe incorporate it in your evening or morning rituals. And the other thing that I want to make sure that you all see is in lesson 1 with the Healing with Aromatherapy course, there also is my body listening cheat sheet, which is not focused on aromatherapy, but more about just using natural medicine as a whole to better your life. And I think you'll get some good ideas in there on how to really just kind of start to set yourself up for some new patterns. That's really kind of part of the framework of this course, is to, over the next several months, keep adding in keep doing different experiments, your body listening experiments, to just learn more about what your body needs. I can tell you all about oils and what they can do, but I don't know about you and your body and what your body needs. You know about that. I want to help you gain the skills to be able to gather the information you need. We're all really, really, really bad at this. I'm a health educator and I'm still figuring out how to do this stuff. So that's why we're here and doing this together. The last thing I want you to do this week is just spend some time getting to know what oils you have. Maybe reorganize your oil area, make sure you have the supplies that you might need, create a space for yourself where you can work, and plan when you'll be doing your coursework through me. I bring this up in the other lessons as well, but if you don't schedule it, even if you're not a type A person like me, if you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen, especially with a lot of us living and working at home. Our schedules, I know for some people it's harder to not work all the time because you're working at home, but for other people it's like we've got these open schedules to kind of create as we want because we're not, going out and doing these other things that we were doing before. So really create that time for yourself. You owe it to yourself to take this time to learn how to take care of yourself, and then by proxy, learn to help take care of other people. There are so many people in this world that just need love and healing and support. And I think that that's one of the reasons why you're here, because you want to be one of these people to help other people. And so it all starts with you. I want to leave you with this idea that at the end of this course, you will be learning how to let your perfume become your medicine. That is what my mom, Cilla Shepherd Hanger, look at her, what a cutie pie. That is what she says. And that's been a big part of her work, letting your perfume become your medicine. We think of perfume as being this luxury and whatever, but like I said, or the principle of aromatherapy is that when you smell good, you feel good, or when things smell good, you feel good. So why not? Why not use all the tools that you have to utilize this forgotten sense of our nose to enrich your life on all kinds of levels? So that, my friends, is our first lesson in the Foundations for Aromatherapy course. I hope you enjoyed this time. Make sure that you get the PDF for this course. The PDFs will go through, sort of a lot of the same things that I did, but also touch on different things. So take them, read notes, all that sort of thing, do your exercises, and then I will see you back here next week for lesson 2, and we'll talk a lot more about this safety stuff. All right, my friends. Well, I want you to take care, and of course, reach out if you have any questions. I will see you next time.